You know that old song Timber by Kesha and Pitbull where they say it's going down? I'm yelling timber. In today's show, Auburn is that going down.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. This is going to be fun. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which we're all a part of. John Williams of Locked On Sooners is here. Oh, look, Jay Smith of Locked On Sooners and Zach Blackerby of Locked On Auburn. This is your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in the greatest sport on planet Earth. My best bets are coming on today's show, which is brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Speaking of unexpected, Zach, I want to start with you. Auburn winning this game is unexpected in my head, and I assume that of John and Jay's as well. So as the not hostile witness on the stand, at least not yet, maybe by the end of the segment, you can start. Go ahead. Are you feeling good this week?
Spencer, it's amazing. You are such a professional about everything, except for when it comes to Auburn. Your blind rage and hatred and consistent wrongness when it comes to the Auburn Tigers is crazy. And in fact, your confidence about Auburn should make Jay and John worried because you're the guy who was saying, oh, Auburn doesn't stand a chance when they open the season against Baylor and Waco.
Whoa, I didn't say those words. I didn't say I didn't say didn't stand a chance. I didn't say didn't stand a chance.
You had a pick projection that was quite lopsided and it was quite wrong. So I actually feel even more confident about this game because of your confidence in favor of the Oklahoma Sooners.
Dang it, Spencer.
John and Jay, listen to how Zach is trying to side door his way into feeling good about this game in Norman for Jackson Arnold. A game in which the stakes, I think, for the former Oklahoma quarterback are rather large. Auburn's best win of the year so far, obviously, the Baylor game. I ate my crow for that, gave them their credit. They ran the ball very well in that game, and Jackson Arnold didn't need to do a lot. But John and Jay, as you know...
He led them in rushing. What do you mean?
Yeah, he didn't have to throw... Sorry, let me rephrase. Hold on. Hey, whoa, easy. He didn't have to throw the ball very much. He's going to have to do that more in this game. Oklahoma's defense...
not just twist stuff all the time.
Oklahoma's... Speaking of twisting, you and my words are pot calling kettle black and all of that and whatnot.
What you mean to say...
Auburn ran for over 300 yards in that game against Baylor. They, I think, can get to half of that against Oklahoma. Doing more, that's going to be challenging. John, I'm going to start with you on this one, but I feel good about Oklahoma because I like their defense and I like the fact that they are at home in this game. And Brent Venables knows exactly how to make Jackson Arnold uncomfortable. He saw it happen a year ago. How do you feel about Oklahoma in this one?
Well, first of all, I feel like I need to call HR and bring them into the conversation.
Do we have HR?
Yes.
To have a little bit of moderation between our guys Spencer and Zach. But listen, Jackson Arnold's not going to be comfortable in this game. It's going to be, can he make the right decisions when he's uncomfortable? He has not proven that on a regular basis. This is the most hostile environment he's been in since the LSU game last year, and it didn't really pan out well for him. So
probably since the Baylor game, to be fair.
No.
Are we really giving Baylor props for that?
We're not doing that.
It's not being realistic.
It just sounded like you were saying, well, when was the last time he played in any tough road environment? Like, I don't know.
Okay, but it's Waco.
It really is Waco.
No, I'm with y'all on this. Yeah.
We're talking 85,000.
The best thing about Waco is the Fazoli's off of I-35 that I would hit up every time.
Wow, Fazoli's. They're like fake Italian food.
Breadsticks. No, Jackson Arnold's not going to be comfortable in this game. Brent Venables is going to make sure that's the case. So much of it's going to depend on how many times they can get him into a second and third and long situation where he's forced to throw and he's forced to make a read down the field to the sticks. Jackson Arnold can make all the underneath throws. That's not a problem, and he can make good decisions in that realm of the passing game. It's, can he throw it beyond 10 yards consistently and win down the field? That's the part of his game that hasn't been consistent enough. And that's why Oklahoma struggled a lot offensively last year. He's got the tools. We just got done recording our crossover with Zach. He's got all the tools to be really good. It's about decision-making and a willingness to put the ball in harm's way down the field where you have to be able to win. They're not going to be able to run the ball as effectively as they want to, and it's going to be on Jackson Arnold's shoulders in some of this game. And for Auburn to have success, he's going to have to make plays.
Jay, one thing about Oklahoma in this game that I do think they have to do, I don't think they have to dominate at the line of scrimmage. I don't think they have to be so controlling and give the defensive performance of a lifetime up front, but they can't get beat up there consistently. Because as we saw in that Baylor game, if Auburn is able to just run the ball, they will just run the ball. But the reason I feel good about Oklahoma in this spot is because of how the Sooners looked against Michigan, where all Michigan wanted to do was run the football, and they wound up with 13 points.
Yeah, for me, it's actually the opposite of even that game. Like, that's not even the game I'm looking at to make me feel like Oklahoma has a really good chance in this one. It's the Alabama game. Alabama came to town. Jalen Milroe ran for over 100-something yards the week before against LSU, so the expectation was the quarterback was going to run all over Oklahoma. And so what did Oklahoma do? Said, you're going to throw the ball. And he had to start throwing the ball, and that didn't even work for him. And so in this game, as we've mentioned, Brent Venables knows Jackson Arnold. They know his strength. They know his weaknesses. They know his tendencies. Here's the one thing you got to remember about football. And when it comes to these coordinators watching players, they pay attention to habits. They pay attention to the things that you're going to do when you get out of your comfort zone. And that's typical. We all go back. We regress to the mean every single time when we're in a situation where we're uncomfortable. And so because of that, Oklahoma's going to try to do that and force him to go back to the way he was in practices in the spring and the fall of last year, not even against opposition, not even against other teams. They're going to push him to go back to the way he was when he was in practice. And the question here to me is, can Hugh Freeze get him out of his own head to make sure that he just focuses on the next play rather than letting Oklahoma control the entire narrative?
Zach, true or false, Jackson Arnold has to be better throwing the ball than he's ever been in a single game in his career to win this game?
I think he's a solid passer. So no on a technicality, but he's going to have to throw the football for sure. I mean, he went 25 of 28 2 weeks ago against an inferior opponent, but like he's been able to deliver. And I think the Oklahoma guys would agree, like physical traits were not the question surrounding Jackson Arnold. It was consistent decision making. And so far this season, he's made the right decision. And the main body of work, because the other two games are whatever, like the main body of work is Baylor, right? Which is not the same defense as what he's going to play in Norman on Saturday. But he did make the right decision consistently, and that's what we've seen so far, and he's taking care of the football. Those are my two biggest concerns for Jackson Arnold going into the season. Ball security, and can you make the right decision under the pressure? Now, does the pressure change and amp up on Saturday? Yeah, I'm not discounting that. But there are a few things that, like, I don't think the assumption of him being the exact same player because the situation isn't like drastically different. Like there's a lot of assumptions being made that Jackson's going to be the exact same guy that he was a year ago. And I don't think that's entirely fair because he didn't have an offensive line. He didn't have healthy wide receivers. And now he has both of those things. I think Auburn's offensive line's pretty good. I think there's three future solid pros on that offensive line. And I think he's got maybe four future solid pros catching passes from him. And so to me, this is all on Hugh Freeze from a play calling standpoint. And it's on this offensive line matching up with the Oklahoma defensive line. Hugh Freeze needs to make this not about Jackson Arnold. And I think when you look at the most important elements of this game, John Mateer, Jackson Arnold, fascinating storylines in this new era of transfer portal college football that we have. That's not the most important matchup in this game. I think these coaches are going to know that, and I think that's how it's going to play out on the field.
I imagine there are at least two people in this four-man segment that are going to pick Oklahoma to win the game. There might be a third. There might possibly. be a third. When we get back,
well, yeah, you're a hater.
We're gonna hear the case. That's just factually inaccurate. The only time you have me
on is when you're picking against Auburn.
No, that's not true. That's not true. There have been so many segments over the years where that's just not the case. That's a rewriting of history.
Those are off-season segments where there's no game to talk about.
When we get back, we're gonna hear the case for how Auburn specifically wins the game, and I'm going to tease it for you. Zach is going to make that argument. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, which is great, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. We don't know what this week's moments are going to be. Maybe Fernando Mendoza will deliver a big drive at home and give Curt Cignetti the biggest win of his coaching career against Illinois. Maybe Luke Altmaier will do it on the other side and give Brett Bielema a landmark victory for the Illini in their pursuit of the playoff. Maybe in Salt Lake City, you'll have Devin Dampier move Utah's offense up and down the field against the Red Raiders defense. Maybe Baron Morton will step up in a big way. These guys are looking to move the game forward for their offenses, and Mazda's looking to move the game forward with its cars. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode also brought to you by our friends at Wayfair. The weather's cooling down, the days are getting shorter, and that has me wanting to make my home feel even cozier. And when it comes to cozifying your space this fall, Wayfair's the place to go. Wayfair has everything you need to set the mood for the season, whether it's comfy recliners, warm bedding, autumn decor, or even an espresso machine, so you can make your favorite latte at home. I moved to a new apartment earlier this year, and I understand how important it is, and Wayfair does too, of walking into that space and feeling comfortable, feeling like you are truly at home. If you don't have that, it can be a big thing missing out of your life, but Wayfair has got everything that you could possibly want to make your space even better, even cozier this fall. Cozify your space with Wayfair's curated collection of easy, affordable fall updates, from comfy recliners to cozy bedding and autumn decor. You'll find it all for way less at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, Zach, the floor is yours. I am directing this segment of sorts, but I'll give you up to 3 minutes to lay out the argument for why Auburn wins this game. I, as neutral arbiter of all things college football, can always be persuaded if a good argument is presented to me. So you give me the case right now why Auburn is ready to go on the road, where they had a good win week 1 against Baylor, admittedly, and I did not make that pick correctly. Why do they go to Oklahoma, to Norman, and win this game?
I think they're going to be able to run the football, whether it's Jackson Arnold or the return of Damari Austin or Jeremiah Cobb, back-to-back 100-yard games. I think they're going to be able to run the football. I think Hugh Freeze had a change of philosophy over the course of the offseason, which was so frustrating a year ago when Auburn fans were begging him to give the football to Jarquez Hunter. If that happened one more time, Auburn beats Oklahoma a year ago, but we all know the Peyton Thorne pick six. What a disaster that was. I also think a major mismatch in favor of Auburn is Auburn's receivers versus Oklahoma's corners specific. I'm not saying the entire defensive backs, but I will say corners. And a lot of that has to do with them just not being tested so far this year. I think this Auburn offense will be the best offense that Oklahoma has played so far. And I do think some of these incredibly awesome stats that Oklahoma is able to tout has a little bit to do with who they've played. I'm not entirely sold on Michigan at their current situation. I think they'll get better over the course of the year. And then I think Auburn's offensive line will be one of the better offensive lines that Oklahoma's very impressive defensive front will play all season. And then on the other side of it, like I think Auburn has the edge defenders to keep Mateer in the pocket. Keldrick Falk will be a top 10 pick in this year's NFL draft. Kieron Crawford is flying up draft boards. He had an incredible offseason, and it's playing out that way on the field. And then Jared Smith, who is one of the highest rated freshmen in the country. I think he's going to play more because of Amaris Williams' absence. He's questionable going into it, kind of Auburn's backup defensive end there. So I think there's going to be guys that have mismatches in Auburn's favor that's not being discussed because everybody wants to talk about Jackson Arnold and John Mateer.
That was a solid 4 out of 10 argument for me there, Zach. That was good.
No extra credit from you at all.
Yeah, Jay, talk about John Mateer in this game because he's been a fun watch so far. There are actually a lot of similarities between these two guys when I watch them play stylistically. Mateer has also been, and I said this after the Michigan game, which was probably my best prediction early on since I called the score right on the money. So obviously I've just got my pulse on Oklahoma. But anyway,
you pick like 40 games a week. You're gonna get one. Right?
I don't go to 40. I don't go quite that high. But right. I watch both of these guys. They're very mobile.
They've got Iraq before, and they're probably like, "What is going on?"
Do you just not want to hear Jay talk? Is that what's going on here? You just don't want Jay. You just let
Jay talk. You don't need to tee him up. Just go ahead.
Yeah. Here. Okay. Talk about John Mateer in this game because I said after the Michigan game they've got to run the ball better with somebody that's not named John Mateer. This would be a good game to showcase that.
Yeah, this is the one where we'll probably do that push. Torrey Blaylock finished with 100 yards last week, so he's going to be able to come out. And now we know that he's going to be RB1. We don't care. We're going to go ahead and hand him the ball like crazy. But no, as you talk about John Mateer, like so many people kept telling us, oh, wait until he plays against real defenses or real teams, as if he didn't play against Washington last season. He didn't play against Texas Tech last season, in which, Washington was a, bowl team, won 8 games. The year before, last year, Texas Tech, won 8 games.
They won 6, but yeah.
6, yeah, my bad. They made a bowl game. That's all that matters, right? But Tech looks really good this year, in which, John Mateer played against them. But I digress. He did that against a Michigan defense who, not as good as it was last year, but will improve as the season progresses. And overall, John Mateer has shown us that his focus is making sure that he gets in sync with his wide receivers. And if he needs to go ahead and put the team on his back, he has the capabilities. He ran 19 times against Michigan. He ran 7 times in the other 2 games, mainly because he didn't want to run. His focus was getting his timing down with his wide receivers. You can tell that pass blocking was elite, and he just sat there and eventually was like, let me go ahead and do it. Plus, the one thing Oklahoma struggled like crazy with last year with our last set of quarterbacks, we could not convert a 3rd down. We're converting them at 19 now. We're converting them at ridiculous rates. You're converting ones that you probably should not convert. We've got weapons that people aren't prepared to really acknowledge truthfully yet because they just haven't had those massive breakouts because it's been spread around. He spread the wealth. So to me, John Mateer comes in here. He is the better quarterback right now, mainly because he's more seasoned. He's played a lot more football to me in comparison as a starter. And so in that, I think John Mateer is going to be able to go out there and cause a lot of problems for Auburn. If Sawyer Robertson can throw for 400 yards in this game, John Mateer can throw for 300.
Careful pointing those things out to Zach. You might get labeled an Auburn hater. Hey, John, give me an X factor in this game for Oklahoma. Who's the guy you look at and go, boy, if he pops or if this one thing really happens, then I feel even better about Oklahoma's chances.
Yeah, I mean, the X factor, Jaren Kanak, converted linebacker to tight end. He's top 10 in the SEC in receiving yards this season. He's somebody that continues to get overlooked because they've got Deion Burks on the outside. They've had Isaiah Satania that led them in receiving last week. So Jaren Kanak just continues to just kind of do his thing as a secondary receiving option. And he just makes big plays over the middle of the field, in the flat. He's super athletic. He's super fast. He's going to make guys miss in the open field. And he's somebody that Auburn fans will find out about this week because he's just a dynamic playmaker. He was a high school Wildcat quarterback, converted to linebacker at OU, and then converted to tight end this offseason, and the conversion has gone swimmingly. He's a really good player. On defense, I mean, Auburn fans know about Kip Lewis, but I'm going to say it's David Stone. This is a guy that was a 5-star defensive tackle signing in the 2024 recruiting class, had a bit of a developmental year as a true freshman last year, but he's just ascended through 3 games this year. He's just flashing all over the field with his physicality, his athleticism. He's a force in the middle of the defensive line as a part of one of the best interior defensive line rotations in college football.
All right, let's get to everybody's favorite part. Prediction time for Auburn and Oklahoma. I'll start since it's my name over there on this particular podcast. I like Oklahoma to beat Auburn. I know that is I know Zach is just completely and utterly shocked. But I like the Sooners at home. I like what I've seen from John Mateer. I like their defense to keep Auburn in check enough in this game. Jackson Arnold will have at least 1 turnover in the matchup, probably 2. I like Oklahoma 30-17 over the Auburn Tigers. Zach?
I've been picking Oklahoma all week, but I'm fired up right now, so I'm going to switch it. I'm going to go Auburn 27, Oklahoma 24.
John, you hear that? 27 points on that Sooner defense in Norman by Jackson Arnold of all people? What do you say to that?
I don't see it happening. And again, I am the biggest Jackson Arnold truther that you'll find, Oklahoma really or Auburn fans alike. I think he's got the talent and the skills to make some plays. My hesitation with Arnold is, will he throw it? Will he throw it down the field if a guy's covered up? Does he have to have guys running wide open to make a throw down the field to beat Oklahoma's defense? I just don't see it happening this week. I think he's still a developmental player. He's still got some things where he can grow and get better. I just think Brent Venables' defense is going to have him too much thinking too long. And so I'm going Oklahoma 31-17. I just think John Mateer is going to make enough plays in the passing game to get Oklahoma up on the scoreboard. And then once that happens, Brent Venables is going to tee off defensively.
Jay, did you hear John Price's right me right there? Yeah. I say 30-17. He goes 31-17, Bob. 31-17. Jay, your score prediction for the game.
Yeah, earlier in the week, I was in kind of a similar boat as the others. Like, I think it's going to be a close game, numbers, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I've kind of just switched my mindset. I don't think that it's going to be close. I actually don't even think Auburn scores a touchdown in this game. I think you force them to actually kick a bunch of field goals. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think it's going to be Oklahoma 25. I'm going to give Auburn 9. I think that they will kick 3 field goals, and that's the most they get out of this game.
Jay, that is the first time 25-9 has ever been predicted on this
I think
program.
It is a scoregami. I think it will be a scoregami for all teams.
You can blame Zach.
That's incredible. 25-9 is actually incredible. Zach's face is turning red like a cherry tomato up there. He is ensconced.
Zach field goal shamed Jay. And so now Jay's
he really did. He field goal shamed me yesterday's episode. So
21, and I'm like, I think the red zone defenses are going to force some field goals in this one. So
and that's actually why.
That's probably true.
That's why I adjusted it. Is specifically because he shamed me yesterday talking about field goals, and I was like, you know what? That's a very fair point. So I think it's going to say Auburn's going to kick all the field goals for the most part.
3 for Oklahoma, and Zach is saving the graphic for Auburn. Zach Blackerby, Locked On Auburn. John Williams and Jay Smith of Locked On Sooners. Gentlemen, that was enjoyable. My best bets for week 4, I am in need of a bounce back. Will I put this game in there? That's coming up next. First, this episode brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home. It could be a local sports bar that's packed this Saturday and every Saturday for college football. It could be the coffee shop that knows your order by heart because you've been there so many times. Or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together, which is very important. And when neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. And there are a lot of spots that are in your neighborhood, that are in my neighborhood, everybody's neighborhood that can use Square. Local spots are what make the neighborhood feel like home, and so many of them run on Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did, and you'll probably get a great experience as well. Square, see you in the neighborhood. This episode also brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash because they deliver on Saturdays for you, or any day, but especially on Saturdays. It's almost the weekend, so it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players or coaches delivered when it mattered most for their teams. Let's break it down and start last weekend with Blake Baker at LSU. That's the defensive coordinator. He has been putting on a masterclass in the 2 biggest wins for the Tigers so far this season. They look like a playoff team. I thought they would be before the season. I predicted them to go 10-2, and Blake Baker has that side of the ball playing well. If Garrett Nussmeier and company catch up, if he delivers this weekend and in every weekend going forward for the Tigers, boy, The Tigers are a dangerous football team. Who's delivering this weekend? We don't know. Maybe it'll be Baron Morton. Maybe it'll be Devin Dampier, Luke Altmaier, Fernando Mendoza. Any number of guys can deliver, just like DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season. You could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Check out DoorDash today. All right, I have fallen under 500 with my spread picks this year. So, we're in need of a good week here at Locked On College Football. I do not have Oklahoma and Auburn as one of my best bets. A lot of people do. But with the way Auburn can run the ball and the way that the Oklahoma Sooners have been good, not dominant, but good this year, I've liked what I've seen. They're just what I expect. 6.5 is a lot for an emotionally charged game, because the crowd's going to be on fire and everyone's going to be thinking about it. And Jackson Arnold might have that next gear because he's playing in Norman. So that's not one of my best spread bets, but I do like Oklahoma to win that football game. I'm starting with Arizona State over in the Big 12. They go on the road this week. Mentioned it on yesterday's show, and this is a huge game for Arizona State and Baylor, both of them, because you've got your first league game. It's a tough start for ASU that has a very difficult beginning to their conference late this year. But if you lose this game, you're probably out of the Big 12 championship game. You might even be out of the college football playoff. Baylor certainly would be out of the college football playoff, because expecting a team to win out the rest of the year, I'm sorry, in the Big 12, I just don't see it. I don't. Now, these are two very similar teams. They have coaches that I like. I like Dillingham more than Dave Aranda, but I'm not that down on Dave Aranda. Some people might be. Okay, I'll get to what people are down on with him in just a moment and why I'm picking Arizona State. But they have veteran quarterbacks, and neither one has gotten off to an ideal start this season. ASU with the loss at Mississippi State late in the game on the road, and Baylor, of course, losing at home week 1 to Auburn, where they just flat out were outplayed. So I can't get behind Baylor's defense in this spot. Arizona State's a 2.5-point underdog. So yeah, of course, that's going to be one of my best bets of the week, because I like Arizona State to win the game outright. Give me Arizona State's defense being just a little bit better. I know they had the stumble against Mississippi State. I think they're going to be better because of that. I'll take ASU to win. And since they're getting 2.5, of course, they cover. I think this is a pretty high-scoring game. I'll go 35-31, and ASU's defense makes the one stop or the one play, and Baylor's once again looking around going, why can we not utilize Sawyer Robertson? That's a question we'll ask and answer at a later date. Another one. I like a lot of underdogs this week, but I do have a couple of favorites. I've got my 5 regular picks in the Oregon game, of course, as well. But I want to go to Kansas next, sticking in the Big 12. You ever hear the term emotional letdown spot? Because you probably have if you follow betting lines at all. These are all provided by our friends at FanDuel, of course. Kansas is minus 12.5 at home against West Virginia, who just won their Super Bowl this year. Big win for West Virginia. Talked about it on the show earlier this week. A landmark moment early in Rich Rod's return to Morgantown. When you do that and then you have to go on the road and face a Kansas team who I think is quite good, and Jalen Daniels is playing good ball, yeah, I like Kansas big in this spot. Give me the Jayhawks 35-17. They take care of West Virginia. Remember, this is a Mountaineers team that lost to Ohio the week before they played Pitt. That was a rivalry game. They played their best possible ball. Now they've got to go on the road. I like Kansas big in that spot. Next one. You know what? I'll go to the other favorite that I have on the board, and then I'll give you 3 straight underdogs. I've got Oregon as my bonus pick, as always, this week. And last week, the Ducks did not cover on the road in a rivalry spot. I don't think they're going to have the sluggish start, the letdown sort of vibes they had at the end of the game when the reserves got in. I don't think they're going to mess around with that. This is a game last year against Oregon State in Corvallis against, I don't know, about the same, maybe slightly worse Oregon State team, maybe better. We don't fully know. It's been bad. The vibes in Corvallis are really, really bad. Oregon won this game last year while not playing a great first half, 49-14. Oregon State is going to try to do what Northwestern did in the first half and run the ball, kill the clock, not give Oregon too many possessions. I don't think they have the horses to do it. I really don't. It is a big, giant number. I think Oregon is going to steamroll at home in this spot in their final tune-up before Penn State. I've got them winning 48-10. I don't think it's the easiest cover in the world. I think they will do it. It's 35.5. It's a big number. I have not had success recently picking big numbers, but I'm going back to the well anyway. Oregon, 48-10 in this spot. 3 more underdogs. Yeah, that's right. Lots of underdogs this week. Speaking of teams that I think are going to win that are dogs, give me Illinois. This is up to 6.5. And you know what? I already know what I will say if Illinois wins or if Indiana wins and covers that number. But I think Illinois is winning the game. I've said it all off season. I'm sticking to my guns here. I like Illinois. I think that they have enough to go on the road to Bloomington against an Indiana team that has not been tested yet. And look, Illinois has at least played a Power 4 team. Indiana has not. I like Luke Altmaier. I like that run game. I think that they do just enough. So, yeah, with 6.5 points, it feels like a trap. It really, really does. I'm going with Illinois in that spot. I think they win the game outright as a 6.5-point dog. I feel the same way about Nebraska. Nebraska, 2.5-point dog. They are at home. So, Nebraska plus 2.5. Yep, definitely like that as one of my best bets this week because I think Nebraska's winning the game outright. Now, Michigan loves to run the ball. We all know that. Justice Haynes, 3 straight 100-yard games has been really good. The Nebraska run defense has to improve. I still just don't think the Michigan offense is quite ready. I think it's going to be. I think it can get there, but on the road, Nebraska is looking for that landmark victory moment like Rich Rod with West Virginia last week. Nebraska at home plus 2.5. I will take them to win that game outright, as I stated earlier in the week here on the show. And finally, here's one that is going to surprise a lot of you. Because frankly, I mean, I have been dogging on this team all offseason. I have been down on them. The one time I've put them in my best bets, I've been correct. Well, now they're playing a team that is actually worthwhile to look at rather than a couple of jokes. North Carolina getting 7.5 against UCF on the road. Too many points. Too many points. I wouldn't be surprised if North Carolina wins this game outright because I'm down on the Tar Heels. Have been since Bill Belichick got hired. And I haven't changed my tune on that, even though they beat a couple of inferior opponents. I think that UCF is one of the worst teams in the Power 4. Now, that's just for this year. Vegas obviously disagrees. I just think that that's too many points. At home, you know what? Vegas clearly knows something. So I'll take UCF to win the football game. But I think North Carolina covers. I think the Knights win a low-scoring slugfest, 21-17, kind of in that sort of range. I was shocked to see this line as high as it is. I really... This one in Illinois, I wonder if Vegas knows something that we don't, that I don't specifically. But I think a lot of people would be surprised at that line. So, Illinois plus 6.5 at Indiana, Nebraska plus 2.5 against Michigan, North Carolina plus 7.5 at UCF, Oregon minus 35.5 against Oregon State, Arizona State plus 2.5 at Baylor, Kansas minus 12.5 against West Virginia. The week of the underdogs. Those are my best bets for the week. Let's hope I get myself at least back to 500. That's the goal. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.